The inspirational part of this story. We've lost the sense in America, I think, that we can have citizen-directed government. The fight against the Common Core is showing us the way back to that. And you look at how the movements have risen up in the various states, and it's state by state. It's just a couple of moms, a couple of parents who start talking to each other and get into action, start calling their legislators, start demanding that their legislators stand up, show some guts, and introduce legislation to take back their state autonomy. Indiana started with two moms. Two moms. The Common Core was in their Catholic school. And they started talking. They called their legislator, Senator Scott Schneider. They started a grassroots movement. Now they have 49 groups in Indiana on board. They just got legislation through the Senate, and they had a tremendous rally in the Capitol. Look at Utah. It started with 2 or 3 moms. Now you have thousands of people involved in the effort.
Signed the petition?
Yeah, and driven by hundreds of activists.
So, David, this is not just this isn't just in public schools. Like I homeschool.
This is going to be required of charter schools. And if you think that you can, and I want to alert people that are thinking, well, I'm just going to abandon public schools and whatever, I'm going to go off, and whether it's private school or homeschool, whatever, you're not going to be able to run away from it. It will follow you. With the charter schools still have to follow those core, the Common Core, the curriculum and everything, but what will happen is if we have a bunch of people start migrating out, and say we pass some voucher legislation, what's going to happen is, like what happened in Indiana, they will say, okay, private school, as long as you are accredited, there's the key, then you will be able to get this voucher. Otherwise, you can't get it.
And the SATs and everything else are going to be designed, so you won't be able to do. If you're not doing math this way, you're not going to be able to pass.
You're going to fail,
Dave. The president of the College Examination Board is David Coleman, the architect of the Common Core. And the College Board is a huge grantee of the Gates Foundation. He said they're going to align the SAT with the Common Core.
All right. So let me go here. Talk to me about data collection.
Okay, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
When I first found out about all this, I wrote to my state school board, and I called repeatedly, and I finally got an answer to a very simple yes or no question. And the question was, this was before I pulled my son out to homeschool, can my son attend public school and opt out of the tracking? Because I knew there was a P20 system and an SLDS. Okay, P20 is preschool through age 20. They're tracking everybody, basically cradle to grave, if you want to think about it that way. And then there's an SLDS, which means State Longitudinal Database System. The federal government paid every state in this union, and they all have one now, to have an SLDS that tracks our children. And it goes from workforce services, it's data mashing from many different agencies. And
what does it do? What is it for?
Well, okay, so let me finish this first.
Okay,
sorry.
right.
So I said to my state, can my son opt out? I don't want him tracked. I think this can come back to bite us. What if he makes a mistake and he doesn't want people to know about that mistake when he's 35 years old? And they said, no, our data is not technologically advanced enough to allow for opting out. So then they said, no, but then they said, but the USOE does not, that's the Utah State Office of Education, does not release student level data, which means personally identifiable information. They say it's just aggregate data. That means just, group data.
I don't believe that for a second.
But here's the problem. So if you look at what I consider one of the seminal documents of this whole movement, which is the cooperative agreement between Arne Duncan, the Department of Education Secretary, and the SBAC, which stands for, it's a testing group. It's the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, of which Washington State was the agent. So it's an agreement between Arne Duncan and Washington State, but it affects most of our states. In that document, on page 3, it says that they will require the two consortia of tests to work together to share student-level data. They use the words, and then they have a little phrase that says, subject to applicable privacy laws. However, the Department of Education went behind Congress's back and altered the privacy laws. in, was it 2011 or 2010? So FERPA has been altered. So parental consent no longer required. They changed the name so authorized representative can mean anyone, even a school volunteer. They altered everything. Now, it's not required to share this information, but it's not allowed either. And so as soon as our state...
What are they gathering?
Well, if you look at the Department of Education website, there's something called the National Education Data Model. That shows you where they want to go. And they want over 400 data points collected. So you have your reading, writing, arithmetic scores, but then they want other things: disciplinary history, extracurricular activity, nicknames,
religion,
religious
income,
identity,
political affiliation,
address,
political
That's what they
registration.
need all of that for.
The idea is you can study
Bus stop. Wait, bus stop times?
The national
go ahead.
data
Well, the idea, I suppose, is that, well, you can study things, you can go through studies and design programs, evaluate programs, and design other programs so that people's lives will be better, which I think translates to...
I really despise the way this administration and people now look at individuals only as a data point. I'm more than a data point. I'm a man.
Well, our teachers are saying we're just data drones now. That's all we are. The teachers feel like they're data drones, and they don't teach anymore. They just find data on the students, enter the data, test.
And it's not just this administration. It's one of the biggest proponents of the Common Core is Governor Jeb Bush.
Right. So we have Republicans and Democrats going in all this direction. And, you know, it does take just individuals making a difference. So Senator Ligon, whom I consult with on this, it was just a constituent in the district that brought this to us about a year ago, saying this race to the top looks dangerous and I'm going to get you some information on it. I mean, and we've taken the ball and we're running with it.
Same thing in Indiana, same thing in Missouri, a couple of moms in Missouri, same thing in Utah. It's just a couple.
Texas fought this really hard, right?
Right.
And Perry came out and said, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen here. But then we got C-scope. So it's not like you can dismiss one and get, we won that fight. Because the minute you say we won that fight and you turn your back, a new one is in.
That's right.
You have to be vigilant.
But you know, I think intimidation is a big part of this. And there's an intimidation factor because the documents are so boring and so long and the titles are so fancy. You know, Secretary of Education, like, who cares? Because we are the people. Our country has been founded so that it's not like a kingdom where we've got a king and we've got the little noblemen and then we've got the serfs. I think people really believe that's how our country... No, separation of powers. If the states and the federal are like sibling rivalry, we're supposed to balance the powers. So if people realize that we have the power, then they are going to take back the power. It's a confidence game.
If we don't hit it at the state level, we will lose.
That is where the battle is.
This is the last one. Hang on just a sec. Take a break.